Islam, Shalom, Hola, Aloha, Assalamu Alaikum, Osio, Bonjour. This is your brother Zach Bay, Indigenous American Moor, coming to you live and in full effect. Thank you for joining me. Please like, share, subscribe to my channel. Hit the notification bell if you'd like to be notified whenever I'm dropping new content. And leave a comment, interact. Thank you for joining me. It's been a little while. I really just want to touch base, check in, show you that I'm still, alive and kicking. I really just want to speak on some current events. Not really too much going on. I do want to let you know what's been going on with me personally a little bit, just, to share and to show you that, it's real out here. So I'm just not some internet personality. I'm just a real person, live in the flesh, Some of the current events that's been a little concerning or just, catching my eye. Of course, the presidential election that's coming up very soon. Personally, I have not voted in a presidential election in several years. Just so you see, this is the last time I voted. You could see this right here. That's why I voted in 2016, the presidential election. That's honestly the last time I voted. I kind of lost faith in the system. Even after that, before that, I voted for President Barack Obama. Just getting out of high school and stuff like that. So. That was my second presidential election ever participating in. And from then, 2016 to now, I would like to say I know a lot more about politics. The political arena and atmosphere. What's going on in society and in the world overall. I'm not exactly sure if I will get out and vote again this year. It's kind of like, once you lose faith in a system, it's kind of like, is it really going to make a difference? Is it really going to matter? At least that's my train of thought. I don't want to try to influence or sway anybody, to not, do what you want to do in regards to, voting, not voting, abstaining. I'm more on the lines of, is my vote really going to count for what I wanted to, go toward? It's a lot of big wheels in motion, So, seeing, firsthand the actual voting here in the United States and, knowing about the whole electoral college process, all that stuff about, them stealing the vote during the last election, stuff like that, computers malfunctioning, companies being investigated on that voting software, ballots, in-person, absentee ballots, turning up or going missing, a lot of scrutiny was placed on the previous election, so there was a lot going on with that, and there's a lot going on currently. Pardon me. Yeah, but that's just something to always be concerned about. It's always something popping up when an election year happens. That incident that happened with the sister Sonia Massey, that was very, very concerning. It seems like there's always like a murder, a killing or something like that to incite some kind of emotional reaction from the public, especially members of the public who are, heavily melanated. That's what I would say. That was very concerning about what happened with the body cam footage. Just the dialogue that was happening with that whole thing. I could make a separate video or just, talking about how I felt about that and what I think might have been, something I'm very concerned about that. Just the fact that she said, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus," and then like that demonic entity just felt threatened. That's pretty much my take on it. Short and sweet. It's really been a lot going on. I just really try to stay focused on what I'm doing and the steps I'm taking to better myself and my future and my family, laying a solid foundation for us to build upon before stuff gets really bad. In the case of things getting really bad, the migrant crisis or influx of migrants from Central America, South America, Asia, Middle Eastern, so-called Middle Eastern countries, nations, people coming all over. I was a little concerned because I was like, why are all these people coming here and the borders are open and we don't know who's coming in? And there's reports of other nations actually emptying their prisons and their jails and letting those people come over here. And this government currently giving them access to resources, housing, food, all kinds of aid that's actually coming from the American taxpayers. Plenty of registered voters, are paying taxes, and retirements are drying up, 401ks are disappearing, Social Security is at jeopardy and at risk once again. So everyone who's paying into the Social Security system, that money won't be there by the time it's time for you to retire. Speaking of retire, there's actually been talks on pushing back the retirement age from 65, 66, 67 years old, all the way to the age of 70, I believe. So, what they're saying about that is life expectancy of the average American has gone up. So since people are living longer, they're saying people can work longer and be taxed for longer, So since people are not retiring as early and they're staying in the workforce longer, then they should be taxed, longer. And where those tax dollars are going, it seems no one's really accounting for it, honestly. There's just really a lot going on here, just for the average American just to, be going to work, paying your dues to society, and we're not really getting anything in return. We're not really helping to build America back better or, solidifying our future. Our debts are being called in by foreign nations. BRICS is steady rolling. All those nations with their gold-backed currency, which is steadily decreasing the value of the American dollar as we speak. So the fact that groceries seem to be more expensive, gasoline, it seems everything seems to be more expensive. It's due to the fact that the U.S. dollar is devaluing as we speak. I'm not going to say it has half the buying power of what it did back in, I would say, 2020, 2019, but just in that 4-year time frame, the value of the USD has, I would say, at least dropped like 30%. It does not buy what it could buy, in the previous years. Everybody's seeing that people are tightening their belts. People are canceling subscriptions. A lot of people are doing what they can to try to stay afloat. If you did not receive like an 11% raise in your salary or wages this year, you're you're behind. You're behind the. You're pretty much behind the ball when it comes to this inflation thing rolling. So the inflation plus the devaluing of the dollar, which is causing this inflation. And then there's companies, corporations buying up houses, and there's a housing crisis. There's no affordable housing here in America. The state of Virginia has recently gone up to one of the most expensive places to live here on the East Coast. I believe the projection of the pricing to be a homeowner in Northern Virginia would be over $1 million. So I would say back in 2016, middle class was about $1 million. So if you made $1 million, you were middle class. From 2016 over to 2024, that gap has widened substantially. So a middle class income being about $1 million. If you're making $1 million now, you're probably not middle class. You're probably like upper lower class. The middle class is constantly and currently being crushed under the system of government, that the way things are being ran now. The people who are in power, who are making these legislations and really just not caring about the U.S. citizens, not caring about what our economy does for us and for our nation, like internationally and nationally. Our debts are being called in. The national debt is constantly being increased. More funds are being borrowed. More money is being printed. Fiat. When I say money, I mean fiat. More fiat is being printed. Less gold is in circulation. The price of gold has actually gone up recently. I would say within the last few weeks, the price of gold has gone up. Here's something you should also look into. I heard about this banking system that is they're currently using gold-backed currency on a card. So you pretty much buy gold from this company, and they calculate the value of the gold that you own within the stocks of their company, and it's transferred as a balance on a card. So therefore, you're using bits of your gold as real currency, but it's calculated digitally. It seems pretty revolutionary. I like to tell people that, when you think about real currency, think about the movie John Wick. In John Wick, they only operated in gold currency. Like those gold coins was the only real currency. So that's the way our world is going now. But I digress. More on this, like the migrant crisis, which is one of the big major things on the current events. They're getting funding. They're getting housing vouchers. They're getting food vouchers. There was a lot of people making content on how they were getting like the EBT cards with balances of over like 15,000, and food supplement balance, and over like 4K in cash value, and all they have to do is sign a paper pledging that they're only going to use it for food or in bodegas or something like that. But in a lot of the major cities where the population of so-called black people, Moors, are the highest, places like Chicago, New York City, Detroit, California, Even here in the DMV, North Virginia, DC, Maryland area, I'm not gonna lie and say I've seen a lot of migrants out here, but they are here in this area for sure, especially in the DC, Washington DC area. There was talk about like all the scooter drivers doing the not the ride sharing, but like the DoorDashes and Grubhub and all the food deliveries is being taken by a lot of these people. A lot of them are unregulated. And I'm not against anybody who wants, a better life, but the way it's happening now, and then even if you speak to some of people who immigrated here years ago, decades ago, and what their families had to go through, how much they had to work and save in order to bring other people over here, all the stipulations and red tape they had to cut through in order to get their citizenship the correct way, and not just like some fast tracked rubber stamped type of move that's been happening within the last couple of years now. So even a lot of people who came here in decades before and worked very, very hard to get their families here to have a better life, they're looking at what's going on and they're like shaking their heads like, what? Like what are these people doing coming over here getting handouts? Like that was a really, really, really big thing. I remember back in the 90s, when I was coming up, people were always talking about certain types of people wanting handouts and stuff like that and not working. So, that's very concerning, because anybody who's currently being taxed, that's the average person. Even though most people are not obligated to be taxed, most people are being taxed. I would say like 95% of people are being taxed on their wages or their income in any kind of way. So if you're being taxed and you are a citizen or you're a registered voter, you're a taxpayer in any way, shape, or form, your tax dollars are being sent and being spent, on stuff like this. The migrant crisis, or sending money overseas to Ukraine, or to Israel, to fund those war efforts and those campaigns, which are said it's good for our foreign interests, but are really just big. But it's really only good for like these huge banking cartels, to tell you the truth. The Bilderbergs, the Trilateral Commissions, BlackRock, Blackstone, these huge conglomerates that are pretty much monopolizing every industry in the world and making every person their serfs, their peons, and it's happening right before our eyes. Anything and everything is currently being monetized. It seems like attention is one of the main things. It doesn't matter whether or not you generate positive attention or negative attention. If you can get eyes drawn to you, you will be profitable, and you will be looked at as a type of influencer. If you can get 500,000 eyes, if you can get 500,000 people looking at your screen, looking at your stream, if you can get those numbers, you can raise them. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter what you're doing, whether you're being positive or negative. If you're doing that, if you can get those views up, you are influential. You are an influencer. And the politicians, a lot of them are reaching out to influencers and celebrities like they've always done during these campaigns. And they're trying to get them to, help sway public opinion. A popular streamer, Kai Cenat, he was doing a live and he was like, I have the I have the Secret Service calling me and they want me to, talk about politics, woo woo, stuff like that. And he's like, to tell you the truth, I don't know nothing about politics. And he's like, he's not going to put himself in that situation. And shout out to that brother, for actually saying that, and not putting himself in the forefront to be used, and potentially discarded. So yeah, definitely, a big shout out to him for doing that. And they're reaching out to anybody and anyone who can get young people or an audience to actually view their content to sway public opinion, being a social influencer. And of course, these huge celebrities, they're people who are always on the bandwagons, the ones who have access to having like their own radio shows or TV platforms, or even like larger podcast platforms. Some of the mega churches, these people are always being used to sway the vote and the public opinion. So that's always something to look forward to actually look at, and to actually know what's really going on, and not just to be used or swayed with your emotions. You have to think logically. We have to think. This is the time for us to really critically think and to really do and potentially vote or put action, even if you don't vote, put actions toward what we need to be done for our community, because every other community will put their community before anyone and everyone else, and that's just logical. And that's what we, as Moors, as so-called African Americans, so-called black people here in America really need to do. Don't just be swayed by emotions and just like the highlights you might see, or some emotional bombs they might drop, just to tug at your heartstrings, or to make you feel some type of way. You really have to take a look at the whole picture, the big picture. Read the contracts from, from right to left, from left to right, back and front, forward and back, look at it in any way you need to in order for you to decipher, whatever you're presented with. When I say contracts, I just mean, whatever you're presented with, make sure you have comprehension of it, and don't just be swayed, because even if the contract isn't pen and paper, it can just be a social contract. Social contract is, it could just be you walking outside your house, and that if you're passing somebody, you're walking on the right side and they're walking on the left side, so you pass each other smooth. You don't just bump into each other. It's kind of like a social contract. That's just a very, very small, tiny, minute example of, just what people expect when you're just going outside your house in public, or, people aren't just going to be walking around completely naked or in the nude, because there's a sense of like, public decency, which is in the social contract. You know what I'm saying? Depending on where you are. When it comes to the presidential election, honestly, I would lean more toward Trump and RFK, because especially more toward Trump, since RFK, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is actually joining his campaign, which is, like I said, I wasn't convinced whether or not I will be voting in this election year. I'm still not. But if I was leaning toward anyone, it was Robert F. Kennedy Jr. But since he has dropped out of the race, he is actually throwing his hat in with Donald Trump. And I think that was a great move. If anyone, if there's anyone who's running for president and who could potentially change the country for the better, I believe it will be those two. I don't know either of them personally, but the Kennedy family is like one of the oldest Democratic families in this country, in this nation for a very long time now. The fact that he's going in with a Republican candidate is very, very telling. But if you know history, you know that the history of the Republican Party was actually started by, melanated people, Moors, American Indians, so-called black people. That's what the true Republican Party was started as, because we do live in a republic. America is a republic. It's a democratic republic, but it is a republic nonetheless. Yeah, I would definitely lean more toward Trump and RFK over Kamala. Even when it comes to like policies, people are talking about there was a lot of talk about Kamala just generating revenue, just trying to get donors and stuff like that on her website. Like, there was a lot of people saying that there was nothing about any policies that she stood for, that she was pushing for, that they could see on any of her campaign websites. When she went to speak at some of the colleges, some of the HBCUs, the main thing that was spoke on was reproductive rights. And reproductive rights for women, it only consists of abortion. They say your right to choose, and that choice is abortion. The right to kill life, and for these huge companies, Planned Parenthood, to use those fetal organs and cells and stem cells. That's really what it's about. I don't care what anyone says. The reason they're pushing for the so-called reproductive rights is so these huge pharmaceutical companies, Planned Parenthood, they can harvest fetal organs and stem cells for biological and genetic research and development and medicines and all that. That entire industry, it's fueled by abortion. It's fueled by the killing of, unfortunately, mostly melanated infants, fetuses, unfortunately. So, just a quick brief on that topic. A woman wants this procedure done, she pays, so they double dip. They get paid on the front end, and then they do this procedure, don't give the woman any of that back. Even if she wants to bury it or whatever, she doesn't get any of that which was taken from her back. They keep those cells, organs, limbs, whatever, after it's removed, and then they sell them. There has already been hidden camera footage of people meeting up with these directors and heads of the Planned Parenthood organization and speaking on the price of fetal organs and tissue and things of that nature, whether or not it's being used for medical research or to make these skincare creams and products that these celebrities like to use to keep them looking extremely young. You can look this up, and I'm not even going to touch on the adrenochrome at this moment. That would be another video entirely if I did, but that's really what it's about. So if it's, if the only thing she's talking about is female reproductive rights, and then recently, within like a week, the past week, she mentioned regulating food prices. All right, now that was very concerning, and people were making a lot of comments about the regulation of food prices being like communism. So if people are talking about the price of food going up and groceries, and people can't afford to make ends meet, and and she comes out and says, well, I want to regulate food prices so the price of food doesn't continue to skyrocket and go up. yeah, I don't really think, it's that easy, and especially I don't think that's something that, the government should be trying to do. If anything, it should be stricter on these corporations for what they're allowed to give us, because the products that we receive here in America, as far as ingredients and what's allowed in our foods, they're just now, like the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, they're just now starting to ban or get sued, and a lot of these companies are getting sued for the ingredients that they're adding into our food products. The artificial colorings, red 40, blue 7, or yellow 7, blue 40, blue 5, whatever, all these artificial colors, artificial flavors, aspartame that's in the sodas, and, all kinds of chemicals that are being placed inside of these products that are being sold to us, when these exact companies create a product that is healthier and they ship it overseas or over the border. So a lot of these same companies, these cereal companies, General Mills, Kellogg's, or whatever, they make a healthy version of their cereals, and they will send it to Canada, or they will send it to Europe, and they will sell the healthier version to them, because their governments have banned and outlawed the use of these artificial food dyes, colors, preservatives, things of that nature. But they're perfectly able to advertise, brand it, and sell it here in the States, which contributes to, obesity, poor health, malnutrition, things of that nature. It's a lot going on, and I believe RFK is definitely going to help regulate that. Help out with the farmers. The black farmers, so-called black farmers, have recently gotten a payout from a huge lawsuit from them being discriminated against for years and years and years. Land being taken and sold off, and misappropriated, and all kinds of things. Just neglect, benign neglect. That's one thing this government has really done. If they're not outright trying to destroy and discourage and disenfranchise so-called black, African American, Negroes, the Moors, the American Indians here in America, if that's not what they're doing, they're practicing a system of benign neglect. And benign neglect is pretty much just, we're not going to do anything against you, but we're not going to do anything for you, type of thing. So we're kind of just going to ignore you, and we'll do anything and everything for everyone else around you, or we'll act like you're included, but really we'll give you what's left after everybody else has already taken it. So that has been systematic going on here in America for generations now, even before I was born. But I recognized it even when I was a young child growing up in the 90s. It's just so much, I don't want to make this video too long, so I'm gonna cut out soon. But just to, I really wanted to touch base and let you know, what's been on my mind, some of the things I've been thinking about and seeing, as regards of what's going on in the world and in our country currently, and then personally things I have been dealing with. I recently lost my uncle Tonio, RIP. My heart goes out. Very unexpected. He was my youngest uncle. I'm not sure 100% on what the health issues were, if it had anything to do with the vaccination and why his time was cut short or whatever, but it was completely unexpected. He was actually younger than my father, younger than my aunts. He was my youngest uncle. So, as when somebody younger, passes away, it's always a shock. I just didn't expect, that to happen. So I've been grieving with that. You know what I'm saying? My family, I love y'all. Thank you for supporting me. And I hope everybody, is dealing with this in their own way, and grieving, as we supposed to, and not taking it too hard. My mother has been dealing with her own health issues. My prayers always go out to her. I really hope her years are long here on this earth, my mother and my father. She's doing well, but anything can happen, so you always have to cherish people and love them while they're here, what I'm saying. So when it comes to health issues, what I'm saying, make sure you take care of yourself, what I'm saying. That's everybody, what I'm saying. This the only body we got, this the only vessel we got, so we got to make sure it lasts us forever. And it's something I heard from my grandma, Gima. She always told me, what I'm saying, take care of your teeth, because your teeth gotta last you your entire life, what I'm saying. So I'm never gonna forget those lessons I learned, what I'm saying, from my elders. Sometimes I have issues, staying motivated. But I definitely love reaching out to y'all. If anybody wants to contact me, you might be able to find my contact information in the details of my video, or you can just reach out in the comments, or you can reach out to me on IG and chop it up. Also wanted to ask, should I start doing more one-on-ones or more like group conversations? I have some Moors, I have family. I have some good brothers that I can sit and really have like a one-on-one and just film us chopping it up, going back and forth a little bit, or even having like some study sessions in like a group setting, maybe like 25 to 30 minutes long, something like that. But reach out to me, let me know if you will be open to do like a one-on-one, maybe like a quick interview type of thing. Nothing too major, just something really light, just to get the content flowing again, because I really want to get this channel off the ground, start generating this passive income. My passion is really, helping my people, what I'm saying, putting the information out there, putting the word out there. So, motivation, like David Goggins says, what I'm saying, motivation is shit. So, sometimes, the motivation isn't even enough. I really have to be driven, and when I'm feeling passionate about helping people is when I feel the most alive and the most driven to actually make this content, instead of it feeling like work, or if I'm feeling like it's not really amounting to anything. Sometimes that's the worst. But I'm gonna keep going. I haven't given up. Thank you for rocking with me always. This is your brother Zach Bay, Indigenous American Moor. Peace.